and welcome to my little bookshelf tour. So at the end of 2022, I started getting into reading. I had never really read much before. Like, obviously I would read for school and stuff, but really hated it. But at the end of 2022, I wanted to read Jeanette McCurdy's book. And like, I was hearing so much about it and I was like, I want to know all the tea. And so I like pulled up a little preview on, I don't know, like on Amazon or whatever, and read the few pages that it gave me. And I was like, okay, like I need to read this book. And so I bought it. And then around that same time we were moving, and my sister and I used to share a room, and we had this bookshelf in our room, but I was getting the bookshelf, and as we were moving, we were clearing out our books, and I decided to motivate myself to start reading. I was only going to put books on my shelf that I had actually read, which is technically not true anymore, but most of them I have read. So I thought I'd give you a little tour of the different shelves and the books that I've read and the books that I still have to read, and the little themes of my bookshelf. So yeah, let's get started. So my first little bookshelf is my religious books, my like Christian Catholic books. Basically on there I have my Bible. This is my old one that I got maybe 2019, 2020. I think it's pretty. I think I mentioned before about my new one, which is the Great Adventure Bible. She's all leathery and pretty. Yeah, but I still have this one, and then I have my original Bible, which is the one I got when I did my not confirmation, my first communion. And it's like, obviously like it's for kids, so it has like, they're like easy to understand, and they have like little like interviews that they do with like different people. I thought that was cool when I was younger. This one I read before I like got back into reading. It's called I Declare War by Levi Lusko. I read this, yeah, must have been like 2019, 2018. And basically it was really good. I believe he's Christian. And it's about like declaring war, but like on your struggles, like just, yeah, the different tools you have on like words, thoughts, in your actions. And so there's like 4 different cards based on that. And like in the intro, if I can find it, it has you write down the things that are holding you back and saying like, today I'm declaring war on these things. So yeah, one of the things for me was like my fear of failure and my pride, which is a really big thing that I struggle with. Then this one was this Everybody Always. This one I also got from my missionary. When she moved, she let me take some books that she had on her shelf, so I still have to read this one. I also got Rediscover the Saints from her because I really wanted to know more about the saints. I don't know a ton besides like my confirmation saint, which is Saint Barbara. Yeah, and then I have these 33 Days to Morning Glory, which was for my Marian consecration that I did last year. I have my little bracelet or chain that's kind of rusted a bit, but from when I did that. And then after a retreat, we had talked a lot about the prodigal son, and so I think someone recommended this book, so I really wanted to read that. I think I forgot I had it, so I'll put that on my list to read. And that's basically all I have on that top shelf. The second shelf, it's kind of a mix of things. The first little side is just kind of miscellaneous / internet-y things. So the first one is like a textbook for Brazilian Portuguese for Spanish speakers. I have been self-studying Portuguese for a good amount of years now. I go back and forth, like go and get into it for a while and then I kind of forget. But yeah, I don't remember who recommended this or I saw it online, but I was going through it. For a while, I was obsessed with the Enneagram. I love any kind of test, quiz, BuzzFeed quiz, any quiz. And so I really like personality stuff. When I got my results for the Enneagram test, I was like, oh, like how do you know this about me? So I got really into figuring more of that out. And I got this little What's Your Ennea Type book. I'm a type 2. And so it just has like little sections on, you know, what the type 2 is, the different sides of it, connections with other types. It was really cute. This is the Wim Hof method. If you know of the YouTube channel Yes Theory, they did a video with Wim Hof, who's known as the Iceman, and his whole thing is like mind over matter. Is activate your full human potential. I think there's been like studies with him where like people were who had some sort of disease or something were able to like overcome it with just the methods that he has, which it was a really interesting video with Yes Theory. So then my aunt gave me this for my birthday years ago. Then we get to my this is still internet book, Binge by Tyler Oakley. I was in my little YouTube book era. If you know, you know, when every single YouTuber was releasing a book. So I got Binge. I thought it was the cover. I absolutely loved it. But again, did I read it? I read a little bit. And I also don't know what's in here. What is in here? Oh my gosh. Okay. That's Tyler Oakley. A Work in Progress by Connor Franta I did read. I was a big Connor girl back in the O2L days. Broke my little heart when he left, but I did love this one. There's specifically after, I think he made a video out of it of it's Life Doesn't Wait. He had met this person who was talking about his dad and his brother who worked to basically every moment of their lives, very little pay, and didn't get to enjoy any of it, and they were saving it so they could spend it later, but they never got that later. And so yeah, it was really just a big reminder of living in the present, which is hard for me to do, but I thought it was a really cool book. I think he had a second one. I never read that one though. The next section of books is books I started reading once I got back into reading around 2022, like I said. And so the first book was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Amazing book, so beautifully written. Many of us know Jeanette from iCarly, and she just talks about her experiences as a child actor and her relationship with her mom. Next book I read was Yerba Buena. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Didn't love it. Yeah, I don't remember too much about it. I believe it was about 2 women. It follows them first separately, their lives. One of them had to run away from home. And then they both end up meeting at this restaurant in LA and basically fall in love, but then they're the past kind of catches up with them and they have to navigate that. So then for the books in 2023, I had decided I wanted to read at least 1 each month. So I'm just gonna go through them a little quick. I'm not gonna give a whole explanation on all of them, but Lessons in Chemistry was my January book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. There's a show, I believe on Apple TV for this that I started watching and I still haven't finished, but I did enjoy this one. Yeah, it's about a woman in the science field in the 1960s and kind of navigating that discrimination that she faced. Then for February, I read Love Hypothesis. If you couldn't tell, I love my STEM themed books as a woman in STEM. This one was, I think, the first book where I could not put it down. Absolutely loved this, and well, you'll see I read a few of the other ones. Gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. Did I say I gave Lesson Chemistry 4? And then my second book in February was Just Haven't Met You Yet. This was a gift from my roommate for my birthday. Shout out Annika if you're watching. I gave this one a 4 out of 5. Also another little romance. This girl like gets her suitcase mixed up, and she thinks the person whose suitcase she has is the love of her life, and she's also on this island trying to write a story about how her parents met. So she thinks it's all, you know, set up so perfectly. So then in March, I read Mame, which was this, I think this was my start of my book of the month journey. Mame was about this girl in London who is taking care of her sick dad. I believe he had Parkinson's, and her mom was always traveling, or I don't know if her mom lived in Ghana and was traveling back and forth, but basically she wasn't around very much. So this girl was the caretaker for her dad, and once he passes, she's kind of discovering her life past that, because she didn't really know anything else besides taking care of her dad, and so she's kind of exploring her life for the first time. That one I gave a 4 out of 5. So the next book I read in March was Rootless, also a book of the month. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. It was about a woman who had gotten pregnant, and her husband really wanted to be a dad, but she was kind of in a different situation, and it wasn't exactly what she wanted, and not the life she wanted at that time. And I believe it starts with her husband realizing that his wife, this woman, had left him and their daughter. So yeah, I believe it got really emotional at the end of how you get to learn her story. So 4 out of 5 on this one. The book I read in April was Evika and the Hollywood Wives, also a book of the month. This one follows a woman she was like a screenwriter who met a famous actor. They fall in love, get married, and then one of his previous wives dies, and she was a famous person, I guess. She was a celebrity. And after her death, they revealed that this actress, the previous wife, had left behind a film reel and like a huge amount of money that she was leaving behind to this man's latest bride, with one condition, that she had to divorce him. And so this woman starts questioning who she married and why, like what secrets he had. And because he also at this point starts really trying to start a family, and she found it really weird. He was acting really weird. So she starts investigating him through the eyes of all his previous wives, and to discover who she truly married. This one was interesting, but I gave it a 3 out of 5. And in May, I read Unmasking Autism. This one, obviously not book of the month, not a fictional book. Basically, the author shares his experience and also the research that he's done on the experience of a person with autism and how alienating it can be, but what the beauty is in being unique. And so yeah, this was a really good read. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was well written, obviously different from the other books, but I enjoyed this. So then in June, I decided that I wanted to read a book in Spanish. I grew up speaking Spanish, English and Spanish, but I don't know that my reading and writing skills are as great as they should be. And so I thought this was a good little way to practice my reading and maybe learn a few more vocab words. So I read La Novela del Verano, which is Beach Read by Emily Henry, very popular book. This one I gave 5 out of 5 stars. Again, back on my little romance book. But basically it's 2 writers who are on vacation. One's like a romance writer, and the other one writes a little more like serious novels. And they find out they're like, yeah, more of an enemies to lovers. Like they're on opposing sides of what is true writing and what's good. And but then they end up realizing that they might have more in common than they thought. This book then that I read in July is Paper Names, also book of the month. It follows this Chinese American family and kind of explores through different perspectives of her dad, who was born in China and moved to the US and became a doorman. Then his daughter, who is very young, but is kind of discovering her identity as like being both Chinese and American and the different perspectives that she has. And then also this white lawyer who lives in the building that the dad is a doorman for. So yes, this one I gave 4 out of 5. The next book I read was Love on the Brain, same author as Love Hypothesis, Ali Hazelwood. Again, 5 out of 5 stars, could not put it down. Same type of enemies to lovers trope, STEM themed. This time it's a girl who's working on a neuroengineering project, which I really loved because I'm particularly interested in neurological disorders and all of that. So I thought that was cool. And then this man who's in physics who obviously don't really get along well, but then they start getting along. So Yours Truly was the next book I read, again by Abby Jimenez. 5 out of 5 stars. When anyone asks me what my favorite book is, I say it's Yours Truly. It's this doctor who was going through a hard time. Her brother needed a kidney donor and she was also looking for a promotion, but it looked like he was going to this other male doctor. And that doctor ends up sending her a letter, and it was actually, she thought this man was like not, she already didn't like this man. But then he sends her a letter and he's actually really funny and kind, and they start exchanging letters back and forth, and they develop this really nice friendship that ends up turning into more. I really identified with the man in this book. The way he's like, little traits about him felt a lot like me, and I think that's why I really liked this book. But 5 out of 5 stars. August, I read The Connollys of In August, I read The Connollys of County Down, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. Basically, this book is about this girl who had gone to prison on a drug charge, and she is released and goes to live with her siblings who all are struggling with their own problems, and now she is trying to rebuild her life. So 4 out of 5 stars. That was the last book I read in August. It's called None of This Is True. I'm not used to mysteries, and so this one was a little terrifying for me. And it's not like scary in the sense that it's like gory or whatever, but it was just like, it gives you this like uneasy feeling. But it was like a woman who is just kind of unhappy with her life and meets her birthday twin, and that woman seems to have her life in order and like has this just amazing life, and she has a podcast. And so the woman who's unhappy with her life starts trying to get close to her birthday twin, and she features her on the podcast. And as she's like exploring her life, she starts realizing that this woman's life is really interesting and kind of strange, and she just starts uncovering things. And what I liked about this book is that you're uncovering it as you're reading it, and you start getting this, at first you like kind of sympathize with her, and then you're like, oh wait, she's kind of strange, and then it's some turns. But yeah, this one was a really interesting one to read. Obviously I'm used to my little romance books, but I did enjoy that one. So then the next book I read was Summer of Broken Rules. It's about this girl who is at the vineyard that they go to every summer, but they're there for her cousin's wedding. But her boyfriend just broke up with her, so now she's there alone, or like without a date. And her family has this tradition of playing assassin, so they're playing the game, and she's kind of using that as a distraction, but she ends up getting close with one of the groomsmen. And she's also struggling because her sister had just passed, and so she was having a hard time with what that meant for her. But yeah, so now she's navigating this new little world again. Then I read Me Before You, which I got at a thrift store. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Watched the movie after I finished reading it. But basically it's this girl who gets a job caring for this man who's in a wheelchair after an accident, and he is just feeling really down because he doesn't get to, you know, live the life that he had. He was like adventurous, and I believe he had this girlfriend who now after the accident I think broke up with him just because he like changed, and so yeah, he's just not happy with his life at that point. But she is a lot more what's it called, like bubbly and whatnot, so she comes into his life and tries to show him that his life is still, you know, worth living. Yeah, and then they end up getting close. Okay, so then I read Love Theoretically, again, same author, Ellie Hazelwood, 5 out of 5 stars, loved it. She is a physicist who ends up, I believe, pretending to be this, or I think to make money, she pretends to be this guy's girlfriend, but the guy's older brother is also a physicist, and he has like this reputation for having, he wrote some sort of article that ruined the reputation of physicists, like theoretical physicists like her. So she doesn't like him, and then he is on the board for something that she was trying to get into, I believe. And so then he can tell that he's upset because he thinks that she's lying about who she is, because when she met his family as his brother's girlfriend, she like I don't think she said she was a physicist or something. And so then he starts figuring out that this is all a lie, and so he feels bad for his brother, but then he understands, you know, he talks to her and figures all that out, and then they end up getting together. Then I read You Again. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Didn't love it. Basically, this girl was, you know, more of like a careless, free-spirited person, while he is a lot more serious. He's into like committed relationships. She was more casual. They were both sleeping with the same girl, and so when they originally met, they like just disliked each other, but then they crossed paths again, and at the time they were both dealing with breakups, and so then they end up becoming friends and realizing that they actually got along really well, had this just like platonic friendship until one day they discovered that maybe there was more. And the last book I read in 2023 was Talk to Strangers by Matt Dahlia. I mentioned Yes Theory earlier. This is a member of Yes Theory, or the original Yes Theory, who basically wrote about their experience and how they all came together. If you don't know Yes Theory, basically their motto is seek discomfort, and like the Iceman thing, like it's trying a bunch of different things, exploring different places of the world, and connecting with strangers. Yeah, so as someone who is a big fan of their channel, I really enjoyed this one, and I read this on my flight, my flight to Peru, and while I was there visiting family. So that was my good little end of the year in 2023. I realized I have a lot more books than I thought, so I will potentially make a part 2 with what's left on the bookshelf and the books that I'm planning on reading this year, as well as maybe a little vinyl tour. So I will see you guys next week.